What is up, y'all? Butt Queen here. So, there were no comments on my last video. I'm probably going to take my last video down. It was really depressing. But today we are back with something that I think all of you hold very near and dear to your hearts. Our mothers. That's right, folks. It is Mother's Day, and if it's not Mother's Day for you, then it was yesterday. Or if you're in a country where they don't celebrate Mother's Day today, you can still watch the video. Who's gonna stop you? I'm just talking about some moms. I am talking about animated movie moms who deserve a little more recognition than they get in their own movies and in the fandoms and all that stuff. I'm not going to go into anime moms because we're not getting into that because there are just so many that are good parents and I can't thank them all, you know? You gotta pick out some that you can thank and say, hey, give these guys a little bit of thought. Give your own moms a little bit of thought. And there you go. That's it. If we go into anime, whew, that's going to take all day. So today I am focusing mainly on Disney and DreamWorks and Pixar movies that have moms in them that don't exactly get a lot of recognition, but they are there and they are awesome. So, let's get started. This one may come as a bit of a surprise, seeing as it's like a lot of people remember a certain song from this movie that focuses on moms. I'm talking about Tarzan. But I'm not talking about the relationship between Tarzan and his adopted gorilla mother, Kala. I am talking about Tarzan and his biological mother. Now, there's a lot of things going around because of Frozen, saying that, oh, Tarzan is their long-lost brother because their parents didn't really die in that horrible accident and they lived in the jungle, but then they died, and Tarzan is their brother? Don't believe it. Just don't. No one actually believes that. But I'm going to talk about Tarzan's actual mother, because when we first see her, she's clearly of an upper-class family. You know, her husband's got these gorgeous mutton chops, she's got this really nice hair, really nice dress, and they're fleeing from a burning boat. A burning ship. And she's, like, holding the baby, he's pulling the ropes, and you're kind of focused on him in that, because, you know, he's doing all the action stuff, and there's an explosion. Does he live? Does he die? He lives. We all know this. And then we see this awesome montage of them ending up on the beach, going up the mountains and hills and this jungle, and finding this huge tree, and they're like, yeah, we're living in that. And a lot of people would think, oh, well, in that era, the guy would do all the work, but no, she steps in and she's like, let's do this, let's build a house while I still take care of our little child baby thing. That's pretty awesome. And on top of that, she must have done something to distract the jaguar from eating her child. Because when we first see Tarzan, that's after his parents are dead, when he's just a little baby, when Kala comes in and she's like, I heard a thing. Oh, it's a thing. That thing's mine now. And there's just this jaguar. But the thing is, she hasn't eaten him yet. We don't know why that is. We just assume it's for suspense, but then, you know, we see Tarzan's mother and father, their bodies are over yonder, and one can assume that mother died first, then the father, and then attempted kill on the baby, but it almost doesn't appear that way because we see how strong Tarzan's real mother actually is. She might have fought off the jaguar once it took down her husband and kept it away long enough to at least conceal the kid a bit before she was eventually, you know. Anyway, moving on to a slightly happier note. Now, I'm not just going to be addressing mothers, you know, our biological mothers. I am also going to be talking about some guardians and people who have stepped in as mother figures in these animated movies. So my next one is from Big Hero 6, Aunt Cass. Ugh, I love her. She's a very realistic animated character. And she took in her sister's 2 boys, and we can assume that her sister and her husband lived in Japan. So she probably only saw them once or twice a year for holidays, and then all of a sudden her sister and her husband die, and she has to take in these 2 boys that she probably hardly ever saw. But she does this amazingly, and she raises literal geniuses. And sure, that is a biological component, but the fact that she is just, she's just amazing. Okay, it's so hard for me to talk about this because there's so much I want to say about Aunt Cass. And she's fully supportive of everything they do. She doesn't support their bot fighting, but she does justly reprimand them when they get into trouble. But not so much that it seems like an abusive relationship. It's a legitimate, good person who ended up with her family dying, ended up with 2 boys, had to raise them, and then suddenly one of those boys dies. The one who was helping her most with the youngest, he is gone. And so now she has to take care of Hiro while she herself is going through a grieving process while also trying to keep a business open in San Francisco. A small business which cannot be easy to stay open, but somehow she manages to do that, and she encourages him to continue on with what he wanted to do before Tadashi died, which I truly find amazing. Now, I'm going to be moving on to a mother that a lot of people probably don't know about because it's from a movie that a lot of people don't know about. It is a movie called Spirit, and it is about a horse named Spirit who goes on this crazy adventure, and it's very moving and very touching. And actually, the first time we ever see him is literally when he's being born. We see a horse in labor, baby comes out, and it's like, okay, that just happened in a children's movie. Of course, they don't show any blood or guts, but still, it's like, oh, okay, miracle of life with horses. Anyway, her name is Esperanza, which we never really find out, because Spirit only refers to her as his mother or my mother and such. But in this movie, Spirit is pretty much kidnapped by men. White men. It's always white men. He's kidnapped, and he was the leader of his herd, and it's a herd of wild horses. He leads off the men so that way they don't find them, and his mother, while she does try to save him, he's like, no, Mom, you need to go. You need to take care of them. And she does. She keeps them out of harm's way while he is gone for what we can only assume at least a month, maybe even more. And she takes care of the herd on her own. She is the sole leader. She is clearly strong. We never hear her speak. We never hear any of her thoughts. We can only assume based on her actions, but the fact that she's able to keep the herd together when all they've known is a strong stallion leader, that's awesome. Now, I am going to move on to another Disney movie, Mulan. And I am not going to be talking about Grandma Fa, because we all know Grandma Fa. She's crazy, she's hilarious, and she's a good base of humor before Mushu comes in. I am talking about Fa Li, Mulan's mother. And, wow. Sure, she is very much of a traditional Chinese woman, like, hey, we need to stick with tradition, we're not going to speak up too much, but she's still raised Mulan. And for the woman who birthed and raised Mulan not to have been badass at some point, who would have taught her to be outspoken and not take some of the things that go down? Sure, one could argue Grandma Fa, but I live next door to my grandma, and trust me, I learned more from my mother than I did her. Not that I don't love my grandma, I love her dearly, but my mom did teach me to be outspoken, and whew, I am. Next, I am going to go to a Pixar movie, Finding Nemo. A lot of you probably expect me to say Finding Dory, seeing as it is the story of Dory finding her parents. But no, I'm talking about Finding Nemo, and I'm talking about Coral. She sacrificed herself for her children. It didn't end well for her children, but she sacrificed herself for her children. It's the thought that counts. She is a good mom. She loves all her children dearly, and she wants to name them all individually, while Marlin is just like, okay, Marlin Jr., Coral Jr., done. She's like, I like Nemo. I also like Fabio, and a couple other things. Why don't we, and he's just like, Nemo. That one's Nemo. Done. But, you know, you can kind of sense that she's not just gonna randomly pick, okay, Marlin Jr., Coral Jr., done. No, she actually wants to take the time and individually name them. Even if it's all Nemo. But still, she wants to individually name them, not just give them their names and be done with it. She clearly cares a lot about her children to the point where she was willing to sacrifice herself for them. It didn't go well. It was a sacrifice that didn't work. But it did happen. So it counts. Another mother who sacrificed herself, Kung Fu Panda, Po's mom. It's sad. We never learn her name. And she sacrifices herself for Po. Very sad. Puts him in a radish box, runs off, distracts the wolves from him, and never seen again. It's really tragic. Moving on to another DreamWorks movie, Shrek 2. I am talking about Queen Lillian. Oh, I love her. I loved her from the moment I knew that Julie Andrews was going to be voicing her. You cannot even imagine how much I love Julie Andrews. So, Queen Lillian in Shrek 2. She doesn't get a lot of the recognition simply because there's so much going on with the king and the fairy godmother and Shrek and Fiona and all that stuff that, you know, she's kind of pushed off to the side a bit. But we really see the resemblance between her and Fiona in the next couple movies. We discover that she pretty much has genetically somehow gotten Kung Fu and passed it on to her daughter because her badassery has no limits. She headbutts through concrete like 3 times. I honestly don't know how much it is. It's been a while since I've seen it, and I'm probably going to go watch it after this. But she is truly amazing. And even when she sees that her daughter and her daughter's husbands are ogres, she's like, well, could be worse. Really could be worse. You know, as long as she's happy, I'm happy for her, and that's what mothers should be. Yes. But, you know, also she doesn't take anyone's shit. She's like, Harold, what are you doing? Why can't you accept that our daughter, why am I going to a weird accent? Why can't you accept that our daughter is in love and happy? Just let her be happy. Who cares if the children are ogres? Let them be ogres. It's the new thing. She's so chill about it all. Sure, she does have a little, like, okay, this is different, but she keeps it to herself, and she tries to be understanding of her daughter's decision and supportive of it, regardless of what her husband thinks, which I think is awesome. And finally, another DreamWorks movie that a lot of people actually haven't watched, Monsters vs. Aliens. And I'm going to talk about Wendy Murphy. Oh, Susan's mom. She is... A couple times we do see her freak out a little, but in the end, she's like, Susan, I always supported you. I always knew that you would just be amazing. And I'm going to talk about something that happens earlier in the movie that I still cannot understand how she did it. So, we all know, for those who have seen the movie, that Susan gets hit by a meteorite right before her wedding. Like, right as she's going to go walk down the aisle, she sees a meteorite, she's like, oh no, I better run away, instead of running towards the thing so that way it doesn't actually hit me. And she comes out of it mostly unscathed, except for her dress and her hair and everything is dirty and messy and gross. Her mom comes up and she's like, Susan, where are you? Susan, what are you doing? And she's like, Susan, you're a mess. Oh goodness, thank gosh I brought wet wipes. And then all of a sudden, it cuts to Susan walking down the aisle, and everything is perfect again. Except for, of course, she's transforms into a giant lady. But the fact that her mom was able to clean her up with just wet wipes. Now, for those of you who don't understand, because you're probably men, no offense, or you've just never been married. I've actually never been married, but I've been to enough weddings that I know it is not easy to clean a dress. A silk dress, or satin dress, or whatever fabric she has. It's like a silky texture. It is not easy to clean that. Especially enough for her to walk down the aisle and everyone to be like, oh, she's so beautiful. She does it with wet wipes. How? I'm thinking Wendy Murphy has got some kind of alien powers herself, because no mother or anyone in this world can be that powerful. So, that is my list of animated mothers and guardians who I believe deserve a little bit more attention, and I don't care if you're celebrating Mother's Day or not today, even if you don't have a mom or anyone. Whoever is in your life and is an influence in your life who cares about you, please, please give them a hug and give them a big thank you. Because back when I was young, I never was very nice to my mom. And now that I'm older, I realize, wow, she took better care of me than I did. How did she do it? So, please, give your mom a hug today. If not today, then just tomorrow. Just give her a hug, give her a call, give whoever it is in your life. It could be a mother, a father, grandmother, aunt, uncle, or just friend or guardian or whoever is looking out for you. Give them a hug and just say thank you for everything you do. So, stay safe and have a glorious day.